My high sheet for the 8. Leo Coys and KTK. Lucas on the fly, causing turbulence. Causing waves on our way to the confluence. New voice for the fans. From the pitch to the stands. My high looks than the South Bank lads. Leo Coys and a homie crashed. Hold up, what's this? A raft on the water to the confluence. Yeah. It's chance, I'm bound up, rounds, I love the head to the wars. If it's this, you're off the sea, free aid, this time is now. Locals on the jump to hold it down. Like the stream and do 5 stars. The mile high hearts burn, crash the car.
Yes, you filthy animals. Welcome back to the Confluence. My name is Leo Coys, the Mile High Hotspur, and I'm joined by my homie, triple certified Rapid Sicko, the driver of the Daddy Shuttle, and the co-host of this here podcast, my homie KTK Crash. Talk to the homies, bro. How are you doing?
Well, we are recording this post game from tonight. So you asked if the game went a slightly different way, I might have a completely different response. But today, it's great. It's nice. We had a nice away day, watch along, which was really nice to jump in. But similar to what I did the last time. When the games are on before bedtime, my kids love watching them, and of course they want to watch them with dad. So I enjoyed hanging out in the basement with my kiddos, just hanging out, watching, cheering on the Rapids, and then chatting with you guys. So today's been a great day. We started off, work was a little stressful, a lot of things, moving pieces there. That was a bit much, but no soccer today outside of watching and being a fan. So it was good after that.
That's dope, bro. That's dope. No, it's been a freaking fabulous day. Talked about it on the live stream. Even got home, had some fabulous al pastor tacos, and I had an excellent watch along. It was just vibes, Mahoney. It was a great watch along.
Anybody who saw your tacos, man, is jealous, because if you didn't, it's worth literally going back, finding that spot in the stream where Leo shows everybody the amazing tacos that he was provided for dinner tonight. And all of our collective mouths were just salivating because they looked fantastic.
Well, that's funny you say that, bro. So first of all, we start off every episode by, I love to big up the C38, the Mile High Locos, the homies with the Culeros. And on this one, I'm even going to add, big up to Rob Patterson, my homie, all the way from Wales, tuned into the watch along, keeps up with the Rapids, my homie. So the pod's massive. He was a fan before we got the Confluence. He was over on the Mile High Hotspur when we did the watch alongs or the live streams as well. But he's made the leap from the Mile High Hotspur to the Confluence podcast, and he's up to date with what we're doing, Crash. So if you are listening, you filthy animal, Rob, big yourself up all the way to Wales. That's massive. That's massive, Crash.
Yeah, huge. Yeah, absolutely. We always, like I said, this is a community for all, and we love, whether you're from across the pond or you're here in the U.S. and you're curious about the Rapids, you're all welcome. And I really did enjoy chatting with Rob, and glad he joined us on the stream today. It was definitely a lot of fun. So, share it, like it, make sure you send it to your friends who are interested. We want more to join the community here, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Big up. Well, let's get proceeding with the proceedings this evening, Crash. It was not pretty. But it was massive. The Colorado Rapids just gave us the perfect example of how quickly the narratives can flip in the MLS. Now, I say that, kind of tidily, get the algorithm going, but, it's true. It's true, my homie. It is massive what 3 points can do, especially when you pick them up on the road. But before we get there, we have to take it back to a few days ago, Crash. We met each other for a nice picture that we posted on the Confluence Instagram page. 2 handsome fellas. Props to Leah, my daughter, for being the camera lady on that one too, my homie. Just that one up. That was a good one, Crash. So it's always fun when I get to see you, my homie, at the stadium. I have a bit of a confession. It got cold, dude. The wind came out of nowhere for that game on Saturday at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. Leah wasn't feeling too good, and I told her, you know what, sweetheart, let's go. There's lovely people outside of Dick's Sporting Goods Park selling some hot dogs, bacon wrapped with onion, that whatever you want to get on there, my homie. I said, let's go grab one of those. We'll hit the car and we'll just go home. And good thing we did crash, because even after that, Leah's been feeling a bit sick. So I'm glad that we left at halftime, because it was just an ugly game, Crash. It was an ugly game, bro. And it was one that, before, if you guys listened to the pod last week, we kind of did a rundown, a breakdown, if you will, of where we thought we were going to be able to pick up points, or how we thought we would kind of shape out. We kind of favored ourselves to beat St. Louis City SC, especially here at home. And to jump forward a bit, we thought we weren't going to be able to get that big of a result today in Minnesota. Trash, let's take it back to Saturday, my homie. What do you want to talk about the game, homie? Let's break it down. I mean, it was another game where we couldn't even finish with 11 players on the pitch, and of course, we couldn't finish with a W.
Yeah, it was a tough one. I think, it was one. I think it's important to say thank you to everybody who came out and did support. There were some really good moments there to honor Ryan. And so I think I was really happy with the club, and all the things that they did to support him and his memory, for his family and friends and the community. So, I was really proud of that. And apologies to anybody in section 109 during the 44th minute. I was standing, yelling and say, get up, stand up, get loud. I think that piece of it was a little, lost on some, what was going on, but I tried my best to get everybody up with very little voice that I had, because I was running a little sick myself. So, but yeah, I thought that was really good. I thought those moments were nice, and so I appreciated that. And the other side, I agree, man. I was walking with my son, and that wind blew in, and I was wearing shorts because I thought it was going to be a hot day. I coached that day, sweating. It was one of those situations where I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a great night," and that wind came, and I was cold. Luckily, my son was bundled up, and he was not as excited to leave as your daughter might have been, because I kept saying, like, "Hey, do you want to stick around? Are you good?" He's like, "No, we're staying. So we stayed till the bitter end, in the bitter cold. But it was, it was one of those games where you knew there was some challenge, right? You knew the team wasn't like ready, available, like they've been tired, there's lots of injuries. They're playing in a way that didn't seem as connected as it should. And it was just kind of evident from the very beginning. And, St. Louis isn't a terrible team, but they're not a great team. And this is a team that we should have just blown through, 2-3 weeks ago. And you can kind of see the tired legs, the lack of quality. We talked about it today on the watch along, just kind of some laziness and lack of clinical passing and different things. So, I think that's just kind of what you get when you deal with, the amount of games we played and the amount of injuries we're getting and how tired these guys are. So, it was an unfortunate result. It's, I think there's another piece of that. If you were there at the game or watched it, the officiating was absolutely horrid. And I think that was, another big mark on that night that could have swayed it completely in a different direction, which was just wildly unfortunate.
Yeah, homie, the officiating is just a frustrating aspect of our game. We even talked about that a little bit on the watch along too, bro. It's just not been the best, and I mean, I don't watch too many other games, but I'm almost tempted to say that's kind of like a theme throughout the MLS, bro. It's just, the officiating. Crash, one big detail, huge detail. In previous pods, we've talked about this. Zack Steffen, what's going on? Have we heard anything? He was not part of the team lineup. He wasn't even on the bench for that game there. And again, we recalled Adam Beaudry. He's now the number 2. Nico Hansen doing his best to be the number 1. But has there been any communication? Has there been any insight or any release about what's going on? Is it maybe something personal, or is the club doing something about Zack Steffen's form?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a good question. As of Saturday, when the lineup came out, excuse me, I saw reporting that it was just a knock that he took that morning. And so I don't know. I don't know what it was. I don't know what was going on. But it was a knock, and so he wasn't available. So Nico that's why he missed the report on Friday. But this week I haven't heard anything. I haven't really been paying as close of attention as I normally do. There's been a lot of things, with work and we've been in tryout season right now. The past Monday, Tuesday, I've spent, 3.5 hours or so on the pitch, with tryouts. So I've been kind of disconnected a bit. And I haven't really checked in as much as I usually do. So I will look around. But it is interesting to see that it's something serious enough that he couldn't travel to Minnesota for. It was something he, as serious that, what happens the morning of a game? It's like, did he fall down the stairs? I don't know. Who knows? What happens, right?
I got pushed down them stairs.
So it'd be interesting. I will go back, and I do need to go back and listen to some of the information there. And so I may have missed it. And so apologies to everybody for not having that information handy, but yeah, it is intriguing to see. And we'll definitely try to find out more if we can.
Yeah, no apologies needed, my homie. I mean, there just hasn't. We've been left in the dark. We heard that one first thing, and it's just like, no. I'm pretty sure the Inta knows for the Rapids. They know, but not much has come out, bro. So watch this space. Let's see what happens. But that was just a really big detail going into the game. I know I got a message from Greg, and he's like, "Hey, any word on Steffen? He's not even in the lineup." And I was like, "Wow, could they be trying to move in the?" I mean, well, I guess time will tell what we're trying to do or what's going to happen. But back to the game. Look, the final score ended up being Colorado Rapids 0, and of course St. Louis City SC 1. Trash. The reason this one really hurt more, you know what I mean? It kind of was a gut punch, is because, like I said, that game was the one out of this fixture congestion before the break that kind of seemed the most winnable, right? So coming into the match was the Rapids finally, and this was big. We had 1 full week to prepare for this game. That was the first time we were able to do that in God knows how many fixtures. And we knew it was going to be key, Crash, because after that game against City SC, we were going to be back into the thick of these games, right? And apart from us having that full week to practice, we're going to throw in the home field advantage. We were playing at home. The fans were up for it, bro. That was something that I realized, even though it was freaking cold to start the game and everything like that, there was tons of fans, bro. The South Bank was rocking. It was great vibes there throughout the game. And the Rapids were coming up against a struggling St. Louis side as well, right? This would have been the perfect way to stop the bleeding, Crash.
Yeah, absolutely. It would have been a better cap on kind of the winless run we had. And it would have been a good catalyst to launch into these next fixtures. So I was really hopeful. You could see the team were really fighting, and really did try to get in. Obviously, Minnesota got that first goal and only goal relatively early and kind of halfway through the first half. But it was just kind of, it just wasn't quite enough. And it was just, it did kind of throw on some alarm bells for me as to, okay, do we need to be concerned now? And it's not that the team isn't capable of winning. It's just with the injuries, with this, all the team being, struggling with minutes and time and, all those kinds of things. It's just a lot to deal with. And so it's just kind of like, oh, this could be a really rough stretch if things are kind of on the wrong side of the coin.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, especially if we're seeing that form at home, right? That was the first loss at Dick's Sporting Goods Park for us this season. We did have the home loss, obviously, at Empower Field, but usually at home, our team has been performing. And again, this game, I want to say that we definitely again we looked flat going forward, my homie. And of course, St. Louis City came out organized, compact. They were disciplined. The Rapids, 50. I think we're second place for possession, but really, when you're not doing nothing with it, bro, does it even mean anything? And we had tons of corners that game as well, but a theme of what's been going on, Crash, no cutting edge in the final third, bro.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that was the key is like, it's not that we didn't look bad at times. We had a lot of opportunities. We could not find the back of the net. And I think, and a different day that could have been a 4-1 game, St. Louis did not create a lot of opportunities. They got the one goal, and I think there was maybe one stop by that I can remember from Nico. And then outside of that, it was, they had, would get the ball, we would defend it relatively well, and we put in a decent shift, but but they were also doing these long balls and just trying to fight for it. Now, like St. Louis didn't have a whole lot against us. They just got lucky on that one long ball and a pass to Sun or Sangbin to get that goal, one-on-one with Nico. And so it was some lapse in judgment and mentality from our team that kind of caused some of that. And everything else was really in our favor until we, got the red. And that was the big, that really was a big deciding factor. But we weren't creating stuff. We weren't really playing the way that you expect. Really until that red came out and things actually kind of changed a little bit.
Yeah. No, and let's talk about that, my homie. Rob Holding got the red card in the second half, kind of basically to kick off the second half. And what are your thoughts on that, Crash? I mean, non-biased, from the outsider looking in, even from the coach's perspective, did he impede the runner or what is the actual call, like impeding the goal scoring opportunity?
Denial of goal scoring opportunity is what they called it. So that constitutes a red card. I totally understand that. But you can't deny as goal scoring opportunity if you're 50-50 challenging for a ball. Like you have to be in possession of the ball, and you have to deny that person that opportunity to score. So think of it like a breakaway, where the person's like one-on-one of the keeper, you come in and take them out, or those kinds of things. A 50-50 challenge for a ball where you're going shoulder to shoulder with a center back to defender or attacker. I don't understand how that is a red card by any means. I don't even understand how it's even a penalty to a degree, right? And you go up and that happens. That's part of challenging for the ball, and so I was amazed that they didn't even VAR review it or send him to the monitor to review it, because it was pretty obvious from anyone who saw it. We were in the stadium. They showed it up on the big screen multiple times. And we're like, what is that? It wasn't anything egregious, anything that would have said, oh, he has possession of this ball and now he's going to score. So it was pretty crazy.
I know the fans. I know you guys weren't happy because, like I said, we left. That's when we left at halftime, and the second half had already started when we were walking out, and we had gotten the hot dogs, talked a little bit to the vendor. I started heading to the car, and that's when we heard, "Ref, you suck. Ref, you suck." And I'm like, "Oh, what the hell happened?" And I could see the big
Yeah.
scoreboard there, and I could see Rob Holding on there, and I'm like, "Oh," so I right away got the Apple on the phone and pulled it up, and I'm like, "Oh man, now we're down by the guy, already down by the goal, now down by now down numerically." Crash. I mean, this pod for the listener is going to be a shorter one today. What are your thoughts? What are your positives, I guess, if any, from that game, or negatives? I like to do this to you, my homie. Or what are you just walking away from that game? Most prevalent in your mind.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the positive was the fact that we actually played really well with 10 men. St. Louis wasn't like they weren't really doing a lot, and despite them having the advantage, I thought we defended really, really well. I mean, we didn't concede another goal. We actually challenged for our own and almost scored numerous times in the second half. And so I was actually pretty impressed that, like, why didn't we start out like this? And I think even Matt Wells mentioned that in the post-game interview. He was just like, we played better with 10 than we did with 11, and not quite sure why that happened. So I think that's kind of a positive. I'm not going to say it's like a great positive. I mean, you don't want to go down to 10, but it's good to see that we did have the grit and determination to stick in and keep it close or keep it competitive, because we could have nicked a point to come back there. We just were unlucky. The only other thought I could think of is, we're definitely struggling with, we need midfielders. We're missing a lot of people. You can see some of the clinical nature of what we were doing wasn't really up to par a lot of the times. And, Hoffa played out of position that game. He played more of it as an 8 than he did as a 9, from what Matt Wells was saying. So you could kind of see Hoffa he didn't do Hoffa things that you normally see. I mean, he did the best he could, and he still was there, but he just didn't have the ability to create like he normally does and be dangerous like he normally does. So, yeah, I think that little experiment wasn't the greatest option, but when you don't have anybody to play, it makes it challenging. So I get that too.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying, bro. And I think for me, the most frustrating part, from that game is, and then what we're taking away from it is just, like we said before, like I opened the conversation with, I honestly felt that game for us was our opportunity to click on, you know what I mean? And for the reasons we talked about, right? Just being able to train properly, being able to, I'm assuming Matt Wells was able to game plan better for the team, more time. And it just didn't happen for us on the day. And it's good that we played better when we were down 10 men and still showing fight, which is what this Rapids team has done, for the majority of the season, if not all of it. Like they've showed fight. Maybe a couple, maybe two games that we really didn't. But for the majority of it, we've shown fight. And I mean, I guess I could take that away from it. But moving on to the next game, my homie, and I guess this Minnesota result changes the mood completely from that. If we're going to be honest, right? And that's kind of why the MLS just brings a lot of chaos, my homies, because the game that we circled, I guess I know I did, and we talked about it on the pod, to be one of the more tougher fixtures, turns out to be the one that we survived even more comfortably. More comfortably. I mean, I forget the guy's name, but the guy for Minnesota with the headband today was just all over the pitch today. Yeah, Boa. Your Boa, he was amazing today, my homie. But we survived, my homie. A classic on the road smash and dash, just smash and grab them points, my homies. Thoughts on the game, Crash? Let's break it down, my homie. Thoughts on again, the starting lineup, a makeshift lineup again. The big key again, no Zack Steffen. We talked about that. Nico Hansen, my homie, before we, really break down the game, let's just talk about the players a bit, my homie. Nico Hansen kind of growing into that role very on early. We know he's a very good number 2. My homie, thoughts on the game, thoughts on the players, where you want to take it from here, Crash?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll just touch on the game. I think from the global perspective of the game, it wasn't too far different from Seattle or St. Louis on Saturday, to be honest. I think, we played in different formation. We played with different people. So that was, again, kind of same thing. Wells went back to things he was more confident with back. With Navarro or Navajo up top, which made sense. But we were pretty obvious we were lacking midfield, right? It was good to see Ronan back in the starting lineup. Came back in right at the right time, and Captain Keegan got the start and wore the captain armband for the game as well. So, I think between Ronan and Keegan, I think with their starts tonight were huge additions, and props to them because they didn't look like they were out of place. So I think that was a really good sign, especially while we have we had a lot of suspensions and injuries and all kinds of things this week. So big deal there that people step up. Obviously Rob Holding's out. Noah Cobb got to start. I thought he played really, really well. He's young, but he's got a lot of potential. So it's good to see him get some solid minutes and get a shutout. Lucas did Lucas things, but I think at the end of the day, really the big question now is Nico. Nico has really stepped up. He's really played well. He's been a solid keeper. We know he's capable of that. Now the question is he more capable than Zack at this point? I don't know. I mean, he's still a little raw. He's still a little green in certain areas, but his instincts are really, really smart and really, really sound. And he makes a lot of the right decisions. Yeah. And I can't say he's not going to keep, he's going to keep getting better, I guess is what I'm trying to say, right? Where Zack, on the other hand, he's capable, but I don't know if he's going to get better. And that's the question. How are we going to struggle with finding what version of Zack we're going to get? So I don't know. Maybe it's something bigger. Maybe it's not. There's no conspiracy or anything I'm trying to float here, but it does make more sense to me at this point to ride the Nico wave while it's hot, and hopefully, that it keeps riding. So.
No, absolutely, homie. We've always been a fan of Nico Hansen on the pod, right? I mean, and Zack Steffen too, don't get me wrong, but sometimes you got to call a spade. And I've seen very good instinctive play from Nico Hansen in these displays. Crash, there was times through the watch along where I even kind of said, look, he's not hesitating. Maybe Zack Steffen somewhat hesitates a little bit, and at that point it's too late. He made a lot of the right moves, has excellent hands on him when he goes up there to grab it, and also to his ball distribution as well. I like that, the lineup that we had. It was a makeshift one. I like seeing Connor Ronan back into the lineup. I was bigging him up the whole watch along. I'm a huge fan of the way he plays. So I'm glad to see him getting some minutes. I know recently he's come out in the media availability, kind of just talking about his rehab and how, it didn't go to plan. There was setbacks and, it was frustrating, and he was just very eager to get back out on the pitch. And so I'm glad he was able to get the nod. Had a very early chance there too as well. I think it hit the, yeah. So I like that part. But also we had Paxton being a good influence, Rafael Navarro delivering and almost becoming some sort of a safety blanket for our team when we need him to, when things aren't going right. We can always count on Rafa being able to do Rafa things. And well, Crash, what about the way Matt Wells approached this game? Being how we were struggling with the team lineups, right? Dealing with the player availability, suspensions, even getting a red card to his fellow coach there. How do you think Matt Wells is taking all of this, bro? Coming from such a tough defeat on the weekend, right, at home, and a quick turnaround. Got to have that goldfish mentality, to quote why am I forgetting it? What's the dude's name?
Ted Lasso.
Got to be a goal. Yes, Ted Lasso. There we go, bro. There we go. Got to have that goldfish mentality. How was Matt Wells? How did he impress you with today, or it still got some to go?
No, I did. His ability to tactically shift for the players that he had and get a result is impressive. You could see he was willing to adjust our kind of identity of that building out of the back a little bit to also be more flexible, which I thought was good. But there was a couple times we built out of the back and we almost made mistakes. We got really lucky a few times. I think at the end of the day, it's good to see his ability to shift, being able to do the things that he's doing with the team that he has and get a result. So, on the road, getting 3 points is always hard. On the road, getting 3 points with half your team suspended or injured, I mean, that's even harder. So assembling the team that he did, managing the minutes with the guys that he did, was really smart coaching. And I think it just goes to show his quality. And so for me, I really believe that Matt Wells is the real deal. I would love to see him have, a full stable of really solid players to work with. Not saying that we don't have solid players, but like we were chatting about, I think during the watch along where we get like one person is really good at this, but isn't the full package. This person's really good at this and isn't the full package. If we could get a couple players that are that full package that really round out the team, it could be a really exciting team, even more than it already is. And so I think that's the interesting thing to think about is, one or two more players of the quality of a Navarro or a Lucas Harrington or a Paxton Aronson, those kinds of things. Like, we could be a really exciting team to watch each week where we're really competing against those top.
Real quick, bro. Big up to Noah Cobb, dude. He's always ready to go, stepping in, whether if it's because of suspension or injury or however it is the case. He's not really skipped a beat when it's time for him to come on. And he has excellent vision, bro, to ping those balls, those big switches, few times throughout the game. And he's a few times he even got us out of trouble in our own half, you know what I mean? In our own third, just turning around and finding a quick ball to one of our midfielders or somebody up front there. Dude, that's a position where we kind of have some space, bro. We have Ian Murphy there, who I mean is probably unlucky, because he's got some good people ahead of him. But then you talk about like even Noah Cobb, right? That's there, Holding, Lucas Harrington, and I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting one or two there. But defensively, bro, we look to have a bit more reinforcement as well than we have in years past. I know that for sure.
The depth of the center back is really positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that it was. I say glad. I say that because it wasn't an injury forced substitution, injury forced. You know what I mean? Movement there. It was because of a suspension. So he did his best, I guess. To help the team. And of course, he was probably one of our highest rated players. But
Clean sheet, too. I mean, not a bad anytime a defender can start and then get a clean sheet, they did their job, right?
yeah, I'm surprised Lucas Harrington was so highly rated that he is. I thought today he was a little bit lackadaisical with his passing a little bit, but I say that he was probably a little bit too overconfident in his abilities, because there was even a chance that opportunity there where he almost got his pocket picks literally in our box, and that could have been a bad go had it went that way. But look, Lucas Harrington, I think, is one of the best passers in the league, completing one of the most highest percentages in the league. So I'm not necessarily harping on him. I just thought this game he looked a little bit lackadaisical, a little bit overconfident, if you will. But I guess that just comes with the territory when you're balling out in this league, right? Especially at such a young age. Talking about the center backs, how big has he freaking been for us, Crack?
Huge. Yeah, I mean, he's huge. I mean, I think, and it's kind of interesting to think too, is like we are critiquing him having a mediocre game, and he still was one of the highest rated players on the team. That's how well he's been playing. You know what I mean?
That's just being nitpicking, homie.
Right. And then that's my point is like he's a very, very good player. And so I absolutely, we're gonna do those things like, oh, he made a couple of mistakes. Well, that happens. He's 18 years old, right? Or 19 years old, whatever. Like he's that young. So, we forget that sometimes. But on the other end, maybe it wasn't his best actual game in reality, but those are the things that he's able to learn from. He was able to get a clean sheet as well in that back line. So he did some things right and was able to do them when need to, but he'll be able to take those moments, look back and say, okay, I need to improve on this. Exactly.
Well, and to go back to Noah Cobb, a couple of times there he freaking tracked back, bro, and made the tackle on the player. So he was stepping up big as well too. So all around, bro, I think defensively we looked pretty good today. Miggy is always going to give 110% as well, which is what I love about that guy too, bro. Miguel Navarro there on the left hand side. But let's talk about what makes this win a bit bigger, my homie. Because obviously we talked about it. The Rapids did not dominate. Minnesota had stretches there where, they pushed the Rapids pretty hard, right? There was sustained pressure. There was dangerous moments there from them and plenty of uncomfortable defending from. But this time, the Rapids held on. And that's important because during this congested run crash, we've been dropping points in these type of games, right? Where, the concentration slips. We've had legs that faded out pretty late. Defensive organization, sometimes have been collapsing, my homie. This time we suffered, we defended, and we survived, right? And we're going to be bringing 3 points home. Not just yet. When we come back from RSL, we'll have those 3 points in the bag and hopefully another 3 more points. But, it was definitely good to accumulate those and to get those going, the 3 points in the bag. All right, and apologies. So we are back after a few technical difficulties on my end. Crash, I was just saying, bro, a perfect way, 3 points to come back, and now we're gonna go against RSL. Just your overall thoughts, bro, on just tonight's match. What does it mean, to pick up the 3 points where I don't think we had this on our bingo card, picking up 3 points. In Minnesota. So huge way to, I guess, get the rest of the week rolling after the shitty display on Saturday. Just thoughts, my homies, before we wrap up the show.
Yeah, well, I think in reality, it was a great response to Saturday's loss. It was a good way to show that despite the challenges we have and the players we have kind of not on the roster at the moment, that we can come out, go away from home and get a result against a team that's a solid team. So it was surprising, but also what I would hope to expect on most days. So I think we got to look at this, take the momentum, regroup with a much stronger team against RSL, and then push forward. So I think it helps with a lot of confidence going into that match.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, bro, I mean, we're talking about the game as well. Let's talk a little bit about the goal before, anything else.
Yeah.
Rafa, Navarro, of course, if it's going to be anybody, it's got to be him. But how key was that assist from Paxton Aronson? I mean, a huge moment from two players, that the Rapids desperately need carrying the attack right now, right? And to be honest, my homie, Paxton's influence to the team, right? We've seen him score goals, we see him assist now. It keeps growing. That final ball, that composure, the creativity between the lines. Is he easily becoming one of our most important players in this team moving forward, Crash?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you go back to like some of the games where he wasn't necessarily on, in the squad, or he's struggling with an injury, didn't get the full minutes. He definitely changes the dynamic of the game. He is a hard player to defend. There was a couple times tonight where he was able to get the ball into space and dribble through, and he just kept driving into space and creating opportunities, and he needs to get some more confidence, I think. I think he's got a lot on his shoulders to perform, but he's a really solid player. And he's still very young too at the same time. So I'm excited the more comfortable he gets in this system, the more healthy he gets, the more all those things, the better he's going to be. And he's going to be a very, very fun player to watch. And he already is. I just think he needs a little bit more, maybe time or a little bit more confidence to get him to that next level. And I think it's within him. He just needs to get there. And so, like we've seen, I think with Hoffa this season, and his quality even last season, but even this season, he's really exploded to be one of our best strikers probably ever on the team. And so I think at the end of the day, he needs to get to that level of confidence where he knows is like, I can do the things that I want to do, and I'm making it dangerous for other players, because you can see that both him and Hoffa are handfuls to defend. And I thought their 1-2 play today where Paxton found Hoffa in that seam and just a beautiful ball in for the assist, and Hoffa put it away. That's what we need to see, more of those kinds of plays. So I think those are the things we want to see from our top players, and hopefully we're starting to see more of that.
Yeah. No, absolutely, my homie. And I mean, I think we can even say that, even though we've had a congestion of fixtures and some tough fixtures as well, the season's about to get really tough right now, bro. We have RSL coming up next with the Rocky Mountain Cup. That crucial and tough matchup against San Jose, and then we're back home for what is to be the last game of like this mini, before the mini break or whatever. I guess the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
What do you look forward to? Well, before we go any further, Crash, just any takeaways, positives, negatives of the game?
Yeah, we got 3 points. And I think that's the positive. It wasn't a result we necessarily expected, but we were able to pull it out. And so, we take that home, we take that to RSL, and hopefully we can ride that wave and get 3 points against RSL, and one step closer to keeping the cup.
Yeah. No, look, it's going to be a hostile environment. I know there's going to be some Colorado sickos that traveled up there. But besides the hostile environment, it's going to be another short turnaround, Crash. Another short turnaround. No full week to prepare. And I'm pretty sure that RSL would love nothing more than to pile the pressure onto the Rapids. What do you think the Rapids are going to need for this upcoming match, bro? The discipline has been a key. We need more discipline. What about composure and transition? And honestly, form goes out of the window for these derbies. I know it's cliche, but it's the truth.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, RSL is coming off of a loss and a win in their past 2 games. They lost to FC Dallas 3-1 away, and then they just won against Houston tonight 3-0 at home.
Yeah.
So I think you look at those kinds of results, and they are a team that is at the top, that's playing some top football. Pablo Mastroeni has that team clicking really, really well. They're a young team as well, with some dangerous players. And so it could be a really interesting matchup. But yeah, I mean, we're going to go there and we're going to give it our all, and we're going to try to win this game regardless. But this isn't an opportunity for us to prove ourselves against another top team, just like we did against Vancouver and LAFC and Inter Miami, right? We have to go into this game playing our best football to get a result, and whether that's a draw or a win. But it's not going to be easy by any means.
Yeah, no, I agree, my homie. I agree. And just to wrap up the episode, homie, what about the overall mood around the club, my homie? Let me just say, the St. Louis loss felt discouraging, right? Because it looked like another missed opportunity, especially here at home. And then we're given this result here. The kind of road win that can hopefully propel us for the next one.
Yeah, hopefully. And I think the mood, the way that I'm looking at it is it's challenged because there's a lot of factors in the mix right now. And I think the players, the team, the club, want to keep pushing and they still want to keep getting results. I think we're definitely performing higher than anyone really expected. But we're seeing some cracks in the mix. And so I think, a lot of that is just the time commitment, the amount of effort and hours that has been put into to the game and preparation and all those elements. It does wear on you just like the players. And so I see fatigue on both sides, but I also see the ambition and I'm not seeing any sort of, lack of ability or even, stamina to do it. It's just, you can almost feel it being tired. And so I think getting through these next games, getting some good results is going to help lift the spirits, help get the team feeling confident, and hopefully we can go into that World Cup break into a good spot and just have some good positive vibes to go into it with, and really launch ourselves into the final stretch of the season.
I agree, my homie, and I just hope that we can grab some momentum with these 3 points and take them to Utah, because I think I said 7 points is what I would give us out of these, and right now we're 3, and we picked them up where I thought we wouldn't, so I guess that's a good part. Let's wait and see what happens on Saturday. Crash, I think we might do the same thing again if you're able to pop in on the watch along, or if you're around, definitely would do that. But I think
we'll definitely have a watch along on Saturday for sure. I have tournaments all weekend, but I should be back in time for that game. And we'll definitely have a stream going, and we'll jump on and hopefully we get as many of you sickos there. And if any of you are there, would love for you guys to jump in with us, show us some of the vibes on the stadium there. And would love to chat and see how it is. So definitely we'll be back on Saturday night for watch along.
Yeah, absolutely, my homie. Crash, any final words, any final takeaway before we end up the show?
No, just positive. It's a good way to, anytime we get a win is a good day, and I'm just proud of the boys. So I hope they travel home safe and get some rest, and good. Hopefully we get to see a full team squad with no injuries or limited injuries going into RSL on Saturday.
Well, and then to wrap that up, I hope we get some explanation. I hope we get a snippet. I hope we get something about what's going on with Zack Steffen. I'd like to know what, I guess I just hate being left in the dark is all. But no, my homies, look, I think both Crash and myself are fairly knackered right now at about 10 p.m. on this Wednesday night. So look, my homies, when you guys are listening to this, I'm just going to wish you guys a blessed day. Have a safe day, a productive day. And Crash and I will catch you sickos on the next podcast. Until then, up the Peds.
Yeah. My heart, C38, Lil Coys and KTK. Locals on the fly causing turbulence, causing waves on our way to the confluence. New voice for the fans, from the pitch to the stands. My heart, locals in the South Bank lads. Leo Coys and the whole knee crash. Hold up, what's this? A raft on the water to the confluence. Yeah, it's trance, I'm blind to rhymes and laughter. Head to the waters if it's piss, you're after. C38, the time is now. Locals on the drums to hold it down. Like the stream and 2 5 stars. The mile high hot spur and crash the car. My high C38, Lil Coys and KTK. Locals on the fly causing turbulence, causing waves on our way to the confluence. New voice for the fans, from the pitch to the stands. My high locals in the South Bank lads. Leo Coys and a whole knee crash. Hold up, what's this? A raft on the water to the confluence. Yeah, it's chance, I'm bound to rounds, I love the head to the wars. If it's piss, you're off the C38, this time is now. Locals on the drum to hold it down. Like the stream and do 5 stars. The mile high hot spur and crash the car. Yeah.